And the chat's asking Nvidia support. I suspect it's going to be an Annie support, unless yeah, Ninjari, they were the mid player.
Hmm.
Um, any of you support though could be kind of funny to watch.
Okay, I'm done my food now, so I can actually talk. I was trying to finish it before the picks and bans went through. I was like, oh god, no, I need to be able to talk. Yes, Renegado is picked for support. These are all assigned roles. When you're picked for the game, you are assigned one specific role, and that's what you're playing for that game. Renegado was picked for support. Obviously, yes, you could trade champions between each other, and that's actually encouraged if you're comfortable with doing it. But Renegado, yeah, when he plays support, he does play Annie. He was actually one of our first supporters of the stream, and as a thank you, I spectated a couple of his games and offered him some advice on how to play support Annie a little bit better. He has been improving, but I've been a little hard on him every time we've seen him in the stream where it's just like, you're still not following the advice I gave you. And it's probably just he doesn't play it enough to really keep it fresh in his mind. But I'm interested to see if he starts to take some of that advice to heart. My biggest complaint was he wasn't counting his stack charges, so he'd like walk in and try and set up a fight, but he wouldn't have his stun ready. And that's just one of those things where if you are playing a any support, you really do need to be mindful of how many stun charges you have. Anyways, we are finished our picks and bans here. So on blue team, we have banned out Draven, Vi, and Dr. Mundo. On purple side, they banned out Kassadin, Gragas, and Yasuo. Interesting note, as of I believe it was yesterday, Yasuo across all regions of ranked had a 99.2% pick and ban rate.
Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah, even Kassadin didn't hit that. I believe at one point, Kassadin was at an 86% ban rate, but his pick rate was still pretty low. So I think all said and done, he was at about 95, 96%. Yasuo, though, was at, I believe, 98.6 or something like that. It was absolutely monstrous. And he's been at that for the last few days. And it just boils down to them buffing his ult so insanely much. It's the buff they gave his ult, when used properly, is essentially a second ult. Like, look at a Lulu. How much health does her ult give you?
Yeah,
Right?
it's
And then,
insane.
yeah, it's like, okay, if he uses his ult properly, it's literally 600 extra health on ult, which is an ult in and by itself. As far as picks, we then have an Annie support paired with a Jinx. That's a really good high kill potential bot lane. Jinx is pretty much the queen of bot lane right now. I get sick of seeing her every game, but she is a really cool champion. I like Jinx, and I like how she fits into team comps. I just hate playing with and against her. It's just my own personal preference, but that is a very good combination for a bot lane. They then have a Lee Sin jungle, which is going to provide a lot of early game pressure, and if they can use those Annie stuns and the Jinx traps and slows to set up some ganks, that will be pretty easy to get them fed. It also boils down to how well the enemy team wards, but that'll be something to keep an eye on. They then have a Cho'Gath top. Cho'Gath top has mana issues, but scales like a beast. So I'm interested to see how well he plays that. If you're Cho'Gath, though, and you miss one or two skills in lane, you're pretty much out of mana for the next wave or so of farm, and that's assuming they let you farm to get the mana back. And then, of course, we have an Anivia mid. On the purple side, then, we have a Caitlyn AD carry paired with a Lulu. So that's the quintessential poke lane where you just make their lives living hell. Then a Kha'Zix jungle, which is pretty powerful right now. A Vlad top. So top lane's going to have a lot of sustain between Vlad and Cho'Gath. Both have some pretty crazy sustain if played properly. And then, of course, a Ziggs mid, who, again, very, very powerful right now. Ziggs is going to bully Anivia really early because of just the mana difference and how easily they push lane. But at 6, I would expect a well-played Anivia to just sort of cancel that out. Because you can't push an Anivia unless she's out of mana.
Yeah, like Anivia is going to get poked down pretty hard from Ziggs from levels 1 to 5, but once she's level 6, if she can get blue buff, then the lane's going to go into her favor.
Mm-hmm.
Also, is there any way to turn up my mic?
I have you max volume right now.
Oh god. I'll just move the microphone closer to my face then. Hopefully that works.
Why were people saying that they couldn't hear you?
They're saying that I'm a bit quiet relative to you.
Okay, I will turn down my own volume slightly so then they can just turn up their computer's volume. Because I'm smart. Okay, so hopefully this is a little bit better balance for you guys. I apologize if you weren't able to hear some of what Stephen was saying. How do you feel about the overall team comps when it comes to team fighting and late game?
I feel like team fighting. Let's see here. Early game, Team Blue is going to have this. They have the power from Lee Sin. Cho'Gath is fairly strong early game. Like once he hits level 6, he's pretty solid. Annie, probably one of the strongest early game mages in my opinion, and also like her bot lane support is going to be pretty nasty. And Jinx's long range poke is going to be able to counteract Caitlyn. I feel like late game though, purple team's going to have it. Kha'Zix scales into late game. He's a very strong late game champ. Even mid game, he's really powerful. As well as Vladimir. Vladimir's late game team fighting power is pretty exceptional. The more people he hits with his ultimate, the better. He's pretty much just one that he can get like 2 key targets with it. And then Ziggs's late game scaling is also fairly impressive. Like his early game is all about the pushing, but his cooldowns are pretty high. Once he has his shorter cooldowns, it's so hard to push against him. Meanwhile, his pushing power is so strong. And also Lulu, she scales in the late game, I think, pretty well for her support.
Agreed. Lulu is very good at disengaging, and like if Lee Sin tries to jump in and she lands a polymorph, that's pretty much a dead Lee Sin with the amount of burst they have on their team and the amount of disengage they have from just how self-sufficient everyone is. Pretty much everyone on purple team, come late game, has a way to disengage for themselves. Kha'Zix can jump away. Caitlyn has her net. Vlad has his troll pool. Ziggs has his mines and his satchel charge. Lulu is Lulu. Like you just don't chase and catch a Lulu unless she's out of mana. So overall, I agree with you. I think a lot of it though is going to boil down to how well they combo the Ziggs and the Vladimir.
Mm-hmm. The only issue that I'm seeing right now with the teams is that Team Blue has the hard initiation from Annie, so Annie can use her flash stun to start the team fight and try and catch someone out, whereas Team Purple doesn't actually have any good initiator. So they're going to struggle fighting that fight, and they're probably going to find themselves kind of getting caught out and starting fights that way and trying to turn them around.
Mm-hmm. And I would also argue that because Blue Team has an Anivia, how is Purple Team expected to end the game? You just can't push versus Anivia. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's going to be a tough challenge for them. For some reason, Vladimir just used his barrier.
Oh, typing.
Be a little bit of tricky top lane, but
typing is OP.
I'm noticing lately that a lot of mids and top laners are actually taking barrier. Like I'm seeing the Ziggs and Lux's taking barrier instead of Ignite, just because like
it's
Ignite
finally time. It's happening. I've been running barrier on Lux since like middle of last season, every game. And if you think about it, all of the champions that are running it, Ignite is great for their early kill potential, but come mid and late game, they don't use the Ignite. It's too dangerous for them to really go in. Besides a kill, they could probably finish off anyways by just like staying in range for their skills to come back up. So honestly, I don't think Ignite is really needed on most mid laners, and I love seeing Barrier finally gaining some popularity. I am interested to see, Vlad has actually opted to go for a Amp Tome. I would have that's a pretty aggressive start versus a Cho'Gath that you're not probably going to be able to do much versus.
I know. I think like with a Vladimir, I'd probably go with maybe like a Doran's Shield or something along those lines.
Yeah, you'd either go Doran's Shield, so you have the proper health regen and auto attack reductions, or you would go Boots if you're trying to play aggressively. I think of it like a Katarina. It's very, very similar, where your laning phase is abysmally weak. Like Vlad, his laning phase is so weak since his nerfs. So you're really just building to survive laning phase. So if you're going an aggressive start, you're probably going to want Boots over an Amp Tome. It's going to give you more potions and more mobility. So it's cautious aggression at that point. And Adoran's Shield obviously is just OP right now, so why wouldn't you build one? I'm actually surprised to see Cho'Gath not go Doran's Shield.
Oh, Anivia taking a lot of damage from Ziggs. She does have her egg up though, to my knowledge, so she's kind of safe in that sense, but she has to be really careful.
Yeah, her egg is up, but...
Oh my goodness, that's so close.
I would be calling for Lee Sin at this point, but Lee Sin's too low to really help. I don't know if he didn't get a very good leash or what.
That is kind of strange, especially for Lee Sin.
Yeah, Lee Sin generally is pretty high health at the end of his jungle path.
But the good thing about Anivia is that she's really low health. She can actually stick around in lane right now. Because if Ziggs tries to flash kill her, it's not going to work out.
Exactly.
Um,
That being said, she's taking a lot of free harass, where she's just walking through everything, and like
Yeah.
she's standing in the harass. Doesn't make
if
sense
you
to me.
want to avoid Ziggs harass too, I'm seeing her kind of hanging to the left of her turret. There's no room to dodge there. You can only go up and down.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, if she were to maybe hang around in the middle area, like, yeah, like it.
Oh, good gank coming out from Kha'Zix here, jumping over the wall to try and get onto Lee Sin. I don't think he's going to be able to kill him though. He flashes and it's not going to be enough.
Well, kind of close. If Lee Sin has, no, he doesn't have.
He doesn't
ward.
have flash. He does land the slow, not able to chase.
Does
Oh,
get away.
oh, that was
Oh,
not a good plan.
no. Kha'Zix, like as soon as he forced Lee Sin to go back, he managed to make Lee Sin lose out on a lot of experience and also pressure on the lanes.
Mhm.
So what he did just there was he kept going in and he gave up his buffs to Lee Sin, refreshing them. He gave a kill to Lee Sin, and now Lee Sin is significantly ahead in the jungle, whereas Kha'Zix is level 3 and behind because of it.
Yeah, Kha'Zix kind of just wants to farm. He's very item reliant in terms of jungling, and well, it's great that he showed up and tried to lend some pressure onto the Lee Sin. There's no reason to chase. Just go back to farm. Use that level and experience and gold advantage you're going to get by being able to just continue on through your normal jungle path. Maybe even steal away some of his camps. In the meantime, though, we do see Ziggs taking down Anivia, and that's unfortunately just Anivia trying to stay in lane, trying to not get zoned. But unfortunately, she's not going to be able to pick up any farm in that. So while it sucks being behind and having to give up that CS, it's better to not give up a kill.
I wonder if something's up with Anivia, because she has only 7 CS right now. She seems to be kind of just, like, she almost looks lethargic in the way that she's laning and just how she's moving.
She essentially was just hiding under turret, trying to soak up experience, and she was too scared to move forward to try and get a CS. And by staying back in tower, she's not saving herself from harass, she's just giving up the only thing that she's tried to stay for.
So it's interesting top lane is Vladimir actually forced Cho'Gath to go back. He was putting out impressive harass on Cho'Gath, which I wasn't expecting from a Vladimir, especially Antoine's start. But Cho'Gath went back, he had to blow teleport, and now Vladimir has to go back. And he doesn't have a teleport to get back to lane. So Cho'Gath is going to he's going to kind of reset the lane now, and kind of make it more even.
Exactly. Now, on the Annie, we do see that she is pretty much out of mana. She's trying to play very aggressively versus a Lulu and Caitlyn. I would try and avoid that. Your only choice is to do a hard engage in that lane, because you're not going to win a harass and trade war. They seem to have a lot of warning that Ziggs is coming. Oh no, sorry, those are purple team pinks coming out. So Ziggs is going to get in behind here and going to easily, yeah, gets the flash, and then they're just going to turn on to the Annie and take him down without any issue. It's a really good job by Ziggs roaming down there, making a play for his team. But I'm very surprised that blue team did not recognize that. They need to be watching the map, and they need to figure out where would he be. It's not it's not late enough for blue buff to be up, so he's not doing that. He was too high health to consider going back for items, so that only really leaves bot lane.
Top lane, I think we missed an engagement because a while ago we see that Vladimir's barrier is on cooldown as well as Cho'Gath's ghost. So I think something happened that forced Cho'Gath to go back. But yeah, they're both level 6 now. We're seeing Vladimir starting to rise in power, but so is Cho'Gath. Fairly even lane so far.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's level 9 because he has max transfusion. That's when Vladimir sort of hits his I can actually deal damage now phase, correct? Or
Yeah,
do you have to wait till level 11?
I think level 9, like, once the cooldown and damage on transfusion is so high, like, he's fine.
Okay.
He starts doing damage.
And unfortunately, I did not think to take a look at runes and masteries before the game started. Does it make sense to run flat cooldown blues on Vlad? Or do you still run, like, magic resist?
That would make sense, but for this matchup against a Cho'Gath, I think I'd prefer the magic resistance.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
moved
just because
away from
Cho'Gath,
magic
like,
resist blues on pretty much all of my characters, and my reason being, unless you're like bot lane versus like a Sona or something like that, that's going to do a lot of AP damage, or I guess Annie would be the actual pickable option. Um, I find that having level 1 7 or 8% cooldown reduction is a lot more important to me.
hmm
Zig's just absolutely decimating this Anivia. Every time we look mid, it's just poke, poke, push her back out of lane, set up a kill. Also, we didn't comment that Anivia did start double fairy charm. That's a very season 3 start. It's not really done anymore. Pretty much everyone goes for either flask if they really need the potion starts, like a Kassadin might, or they're going to go for a Doran's and just win lane that way. Another
bot
gank
lane,
coming in
Annie,
bot lane.
she's always so far ahead, and whenever the ganks happen, she's just like way behind Jinx, which is good because Jinx gets away sometimes. She's not going to get away here. Um,
Yeah, I would
yeah,
turn that
unfortunately,
into a
there's
free
a
tower. You already have 4 people bot lane. So push in the tower very, very quickly, and then try and take Dragon if you're still able to with your positioning advantage. That being said, oh no, Lulu's just warding. Okay. I thought that was Ziggs going back mid. They're both so short. Yes, they are opting to take Dragon over the turret. It's possible they want to extend laning phase, but with the amount of ganks coming out bot lane, taking that early turret is just going to let you kill them every single time they show up in lane, because there's no way for them to actually escape that. Annie is a kill lane, essentially. It's not a PL and utility lane like a Lulu might be. Now, someone in chat mentioned that this Anivia is not yet level 30. She's level 29. So I might need to start enforcing the rule that you have to be level 30. I didn't really think of it because we were just like asking for someone new to play, and he's like, I haven't played before, so I invited him. Nothing against the Anivia. We welcome all sorts of players to our games. That being said, this is a ranked workshop, so we try and keep things as balanced as possible in terms of matchmaking. So I think I'm going to have to move back towards the rule that you have to be at least level 30 with a full rune page in order to play in these games. You're welcome to join for our viewer games later, though. The only exception to that would be like if you have a ranked account on EU or something and are moving over to North America. I've made that exception before, and that's why I didn't even think of it this time when I accepted a pre-level 30 account.
Smidlane, we saw a gank coming in from Kha'Zix. The wall from Anivia was a little bit early because Kha'Zix was able to leap over it. And I think for future engagement, she would probably benefit maybe from placing it after Kha'Zix uses his jump, because she was already like far away enough from him that she wasn't going to take damage.
Anivia just is playing too aggressively for how far behind she is. Every time I look, she's trying to trade damage, she's trying to push in, she's trying to do things that she can't really justify doing with the amounts that she's behind. Really good play coming out from Ziggs, though. Every time I look, he is landing his skills, he's using his cooldowns efficiently, and his roam has been very on point this game. Oh, Lee Sin should have just queued the bush. Worst case scenario, they're not in the bush. Best case scenario, you just got a kill.
Yeah. So bot lane, one thing that I'm impressed with is like despite how much pressure Jinx and Annie have been under from the constant ganks, Jinx is actually ahead in CS a little bit.
Interesting, yeah.
Top lane, we see it get coming out from Kha'Zix and Vladimir. Kha'Zix blue has... Actually, I saw something getting blown. Oh, it was the ghost from Cho'Gath. Okay, so they got the summoner down. They're good. But the Vladimir follow-up with the ult later, I think, was a little bit unnecessary. They weren't going to pick up the kill from that.
And Vlad ult's only really good if someone else is dealing magic damage. So
Yeah.
Vlad isn't to the point where his damage is that significant yet. Like, it's nice, it's great poke, but it's not burst. It's not I walk in and one-shot you. So using that ult, which is a relatively long cooldown, it's about 2 minutes, I just don't see why you would do that. You're not going to be able to push him out of lane with it, you're not going to be able to kill him with it. I feel bad for this Anivia.
Same.
Lee Sin does try and come in and set up a play, but unfortunately, Ziggs is just gonna turn around and burst him. Ziggs actually has ult, so unfortunately for Lee, if he tries to go in on this, he can honestly just ult him. Like right now, Ziggs could just throw his ult randomly, hit Lee Sin, and get a free kill. Oh, apparently Vlad ult amplifies all damage.
Yeah, no, I was wondering why you said like magic damage. I was like, yeah, I don't know. But
Okay. I was under the impression that it amplified magic damage only.
so we see the ult coming down from Annie. Once again, she's so far ahead. Jinx was way behind her. So there wasn't any follow-up at all in that ult, and then she got ganked by Kha'Zix. The Caitlyn ult doesn't get blocked, but doesn't take any down. She used her fire shield to absorb a lot of the damage, which was good.
Ooh, kill coming in for the Anivia now.
She got the shutdown.
Yeah.
Annie barely living. Oh my goodness. That was a
Really
great
good
kill
pickup by Jinx. Just identifying the opportunity and following in on it. She may actually be able to get a triple kill here. She should be
Yeah.
able to. She's got the red buff. She's got it ticking onto Caitlyn. Don't step on the trap, and she's going to be able to pick this up.
Oh my goodness.
And the
Yes,
lifesteal
she
saves
got it.
her. Very, very good job, Jinx. Really good positioning. I'm actually going to rewatch that, though, because I want to see what the other team could have done. Lulu does back out. She has a little bit of mana. Doesn't... I think she could have E'd a little sooner to land the shield, and then Q'd across Jinx to land a little bit of extra damage. I don't know if she quite had enough mana for the second Q, though.
Like that was really close. A really ballsy play could have paid off for her, and I'm so impressed with the Jinx play that we just saw.
So-
Top lane, Vladimir's actually taking a lot of heat right now by Cho'Gath, but Ziggs is moving in now for the gank. Vladimir here starts off with his pool. Cho'Gath isn't able to turn around and do anything about that, but I feel like
Yeah, the pool wasn't needed.
yeah, like basically, if you're going to go on a Cho'Gath like that, what you want to do, move up to him, try and bait an ability from Cho'Gath onto you, so that way Ziggs doesn't get hit by it. And as soon as you see him try to use the little pool to knock you up into the air, that's when you would use your own pool.
And every single one of Cho'Gath's abilities has a half-second cast time. None
Yeah.
of them are instant. So if you're paying attention properly and have good reaction time, you should be able to use your pool and avoid every single one of his skills.
Ooh, Jinx is starting to snowball.
We also see a 2v1 coming in here onto the Ziggs, and that's going to go down. Gets picked up by Lee Sin. That's actually not a bad thing, because Lee Sin is building damage in this game, and as a result should be able to do a little bit more. Again, not to insult this Anivia too much, but Anivia has had a very, very rough laning phase. One kill is not going to make her win lane.
Great pickup, even though Kha'Zix was there, and Annie taking so much damage, but Kha'Zix, he's extended a little bit too far, steps on the trap and is revealed, and he also drops to Annie.
Yeah, this Jinx
So-
is getting really far ahead now.
Annie, she's playing a little bit foolishly aggressively as always, but because Jinx is so far ahead now, she can get away with it.
Agreed. And that's been one of my complaints against Ancient Renegado's Annie before, is that he's a little too aggressive when he doesn't have the ability to do so. When he's far ahead, this is great. You're setting up plays, but you need to be able to identify what is a good play and what is not. And unfortunately, that takes a long time for a lot of people to really be able to identify. So I can't really hold it against him, but it is something he needs to work on. Anivia is getting collapsed on by both Lulu and Ziggs, and has no mana. Okay, that flash wasn't needed.
Yeah, Zig stopped chasing, so she would have been fine. So we see pings coming out towards Dragon now. I think purple team. The game's kind of spiraled out of their favor, and even though they have the early Dragon, the gold is actually even on both teams right now. So what I do is they should try and get some vision around the Dragon area and see if they can maybe turn the team fight around on them. Because right now, Anivia's super low, Ziggs is forcing her back, so it's kind of a 3v4 right now in the favor of purple teams. They could pick up that Dragon and kind of reassert their dominance this game that they have earlier.
Cho'Gath is doing a really good job of landing all of his skill shots right now, and just really setting up the plays that he needs to. Vlad is going for a very magic resist intensive build, so he's building the Spirit Visage Rush. I agree with that in this lane, but I'm seeing Cho'Gath oftentimes, he uses his Q and then stands still for far longer than the cast time. If he walked up during that, he would have been in range as Vlad comes down from the knockup to immediately silence him and then use the ult to devour him. Obviously, Devour is not up right now, or it's Feast, but whatever.
Blue team, they see that Kaelin's up there CSing, she's far away from the Dragon fight, and they have a lot of control over this right now. So they are going to go for the Dragon, and it looks like they're going to pick it up. And now Lulu, she's extended a bit too far, gets hit by the trap and the shivers. Lee Sin moves behind her, but Jinx picks up the kill. The Ziggs ult comes in, we see a lot of damage getting dropped down onto the team, and Lulu falls.
That was actually a
Jinx
beautiful stun coming out from Anivia.
Great Zanya's by Ziggs, but not quite able to do anything with it. Jinx, she's taking so much damage, but she does manage to pick up the kill. She gets out, but finally Kha'Zix takes her down, leaving only Anivia to try and take them down. We see the Ignite getting dropped down to Kha'Zix, who's forced to go back. But Caitlyn is the only one now who can chase after Anivia.
I want to point out, Anivia, where it mattered, she landed the perfect Q there. She stunned 3 people with her Q. Unfortunately, she did go down into egg right after that. That's fine. If you're Anivia and you land a really good stun like that, you can then use the egg to kind of tank. I know Froggen used to be a big fan of playing essentially tank Anivia, where you'd build just a little bit of magic resist. Sorry, not magic resist. You build a little bit of magic pen so your damage remained relevant, and then you just build whatever the fuck you want. You build like Guardian Angel, Hourglass, Warmogs at one point. He was stacking Warmogs Anivia. Like, Anivia is there for utility over damage, and while her scaling is fine, it's not nearly as good as other AP mids.
It's the gold right now. Like, the score's 11-11. We have a dragon on both sides. Team Blue has 1 turret over Team Purple. But the gold is so even right now. This game looked pretty one-sided at first, but I'm impressed right now at just how even it's been.
And I would like to compliment both teams for not just getting frustrated because, oh my god, so-and-so lost a kill. Or just getting... It's so easy to get frustrated like that, where our mid laner's not doing so well, our top laner's having issues, our bot lane is snowballing, or what have you. And instead of just getting angry and not trying, they're setting up plays where they see the opportunities. Both teams are doing that, so just really good job there.
So earlier we saw that there was a bit of a disagreement in between Ziggs and Lee Sin. Lulu came down to kind of save Ziggs, and Ziggs used his Zanya's, so that way he didn't fall to Lee Sin, and Lee Sin dropped. But they kind of overstayed their welcome, and Jinx was able to come around. Lulu tried ulting Ziggs to save him, but it wasn't quite enough, and Jinx was able to pick up the kill onto him.
Damien's disagreeing with me, saying that Anivia's burst is absolutely devastating because she has 2 1.0 AP ratios. Anivia's burst is not reliable, and you don't pick her for her burst. If you want burst, you pick someone who has better AP ratios, better base damages, better damage in general. Anivia, yes, she does a lot of damage. I never said she didn't, but her ratios for building Glass Cannon AP and her reliability of pulling off that combo is not very strong.
Yeah, like... That, I agree with that too. Her damage is solid, but it's not like Malzahar kind of damage or something like that.
You and your Malzahar.
Love him. Top lane we see it's Ziggs and Vladimir against Cho'Gath and Lee Sin. Lee Sin getting dropped really low. They have to remember that Ziggs is pretty fed, and Lee Sin takes so much damage. He tries to dodge the bomb and ends up getting hit by it, leaving only Cho'Gath to try and focus down Vladimir, but he misses. Not quite able to pick up the kill yet. Vladimir trying the best he can to survive, but Kha'Zix comes in, picks up the kill on a Cho'Gath. However, Vladimir does drop.
I shouldn't have laughed at that, but the Lee Sin flash was kind of funny. He tried to juke to the side and then ran backwards to where the bomb was bouncing. With dealing with the Ziggs, you never want to run away from a bomb because it will chase you. You want to jump to the sides.
Yeah.
I also would have... Go ahead.
There's a bit of a fight going on right now. We see Jinx, she comes in doing a lot of damage to Lulu. She drops, and now Ziggs gets taken down. We see the Get Excited passive, however Kha'Zix comes in doing a lot of damage onto Jinx, but Caitlyn drops. Not quite enough, though, to get away from Kha'Zix and just how much damage he has. That exchange goes into the favor of Purple Team. But what we saw before was we saw Annie and Nivea. They were fighting over the blue. Lulu and Caitlyn were there, and Caitlyn unfortunately managed to pick up the kill onto Anivia. Annie kind of stuck around, and she tried to stun and do a lot of damage to Caitlyn. It worked out because Jinx was able to respond and take her down. But I feel like at that point, Annie probably should have tried to run away or kind of save her stun for an escape, just because the fight was going against them.
Agreed. And I was going to mention something. Oh yeah, so originally they had, I believe, all members of Purple Team top lane. Instead of trying to go up there and fight like they did, it would have served Blue Team a lot better to try and push elsewhere. even if they lost top turret, I think they could have set up a turret elsewhere on the map, or tried to get some vision in, loop around behind, do something a little bit better from a decision-making standpoint in order to try and set up some plays during the next few minutes. Purple team has some really good wards right now. Blue team, not so much. They only really have one in their jungle, and so they need to be getting some vision in key choke points and in the jungle to try and catch people out and use this monstrous Jinx right now in order to set up some really strong plays. Good Hourglass coming out from the Ziggs, and in the meantime, Annie is going to go down. Jinx does get her passive reset. The Kha'Zix immediately jumping onto her. No one is peeling for this Jinx.
Yeah, Jinx is the most fun member. They need to save her, do something. Lee Sin, he's chasing a little bit too hard after Caitlyn.
Yeah, and now Anivia's trying to go back in. It was just a very poor fight from blue team.
Yeah.
They need to be focusing on peeling for Jinx, and then they need to be on the same page about whether or not you're re-engaging or whether one person is disengaging. That Lee Sin, it appeared as though he was disengaging so that Anivia could live, and then Anivia decided to just run back into the fight and die.
Like, Jinx has 2/3 of their kills. I know that chasing after Caitlyn or going after their carries is an abhorrent choice and you want to make them drop. But when someone on your team has like so much of the gold, you have to make sure that they stay alive and they can do their damage for as long as possible in these fights.
Agreed. Someone was also mentioning that I don't believe Annie got to drop her combo in that fight. She was focused down very early. I didn't get to see if she landed any stuns, but that would have turned that fight in the complete opposite direction. If she stayed with the Jinx, she can just hold on to her stun, hold on to the stun the entire fight if she has to, and the second someone jumps onto the Jinx, just drop your entire combo, stun them, and Jinx will probably be able to kill them without any issue. In these jungle fights, I would also expect to see Anivia doing a lot more between the walls and being able to just zone people using the ult. Oh, Annie hesitated.
She could have gotten it, yeah.
Yeah, they just needed to return the stun. Now Anivia's a little too far forward.
We see Cho'Gath, he's rowing down towards mid lane, but Ziggs, he initiates onto Anivia and Annie. They take a lot of damage, but so does Ziggs. With the Cho'Gath here, if they can catch out anyone, they should try and fight this because Vladimir isn't there and they could easily win the fight. A little bit late with the Q.
Keep in mind, guys, that our RP giveaway is open right now. We're drawing the winner at the very end of this game. And the Tumbler giveaway, the deadline is tomorrow. We're drawing the prize noon tomorrow. So if you do want to enter some giveaways, make sure you do so now.
Coming down onto Anivia and Cho'Gath. They're kind of all on their own now. They take so much damage and they drop really quickly. Kha'Zix, he follows up trying to do a lot of damage. Annie going into the fight and taking a lot of damage too for some reason. And poor Jinx, she's trying to take down Kha'Zix but isn't quite able to.
Kha'Zix has been really on point with his assassinations.
Yeah.
Like, that was absolute monstrous fight from Purple Team.
5 for 0 ace.
Yeah, that's absolutely monstrous. They should be able to take inhibitor before anyone respawns. Anivia's 5 seconds, everyone else is 10 or 15. With the pushing power they have, that's a free inhib if they decide to take it. I would then suggest they heal up while Vlad's doing his nice little split push, and then go for a Baron immediately after, because they need to make sure that blue team doesn't try Desperation Baron.
Cho and Vlad, they've been going at it top lane. Like, that's finally one of their turrets drops, like 27 minutes into the game. But yeah, that was a 4v5 ace in favor of Purple Team just because of the Anivia Cho'Gath catch-out they managed to get.
And even after the catch-out, it was just people staying in range.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Well, I guess Annie probably couldn't have gotten out at that point, but I mean, if she still used her stun and if she is Talisman of Ascension, she probably could have gotten away with Jinx. So Team Blue, they're all grouped mid right now, trying to push out onto this turret. Might not work out just because the super minions are pushing back against them, as well as Ziggs.
Interesting choice. Kha'Zix has
Lee Sin
opted.
going so deep. We see the Zhonya's coming out, and he drops so quickly.
That was a very poor choice. I was also going to mention though that Kha'Zix has opted to evolve his W instead of his alt, which seems like an odd choice. That's a split push choice. It's not really a team fight choice.
Yeah, that's like especially with Vladimir, who's been doing most of the split pushing. Like Kha'Zix is needed for the team fights. I feel like the triple ultimate would have been more beneficial for him.
They're cycling towards top lane, going to take away a free tower there. That's a really good choice. Just seeing an opportunity to take an objective for free. No real risk to that. Teleport coming in from Cho'Gath. That seems a little premature. He's going to be there well before his team. The turret wasn't going to fall, and it's not like he was...
landed onto Vladimir. She used her ultimate on him to get him away from that. Lee Sin, once again, going way too deep, and he just dropped so quickly. Vladimir is not the target you want to be focusing, and they just can't seem to burst him down. And Team Purple just disengaging from these fights.
Ziggs coming in. Lands onto Nivea, gets her incredibly low. I believe it's actually Lulu who actually knocks her into the egg mode. And now Annie caught out. Jinx able to land a kill finally. She does have her passive up and may be able to change in and set something up onto this Lulu if she decides to go in. Oh no, Ziggs is in behind.
And she might be able... There we go. That's what she needed. If she has her rocket...
No, she already used it to set up the first kill. In the meantime, minions are pushing into the base. Lee Sin's going to be able to stop those. But I'm interested to see if Jinx stays and tries to hold this turret, or if she goes back to base to try and defend it. Yeah, unfortunately, Lee Sin has the I landed a Q, I must go in syndrome.
Yeah, that's...
Where it's great that you're landing a Q, but you only want to go in on the Q when it's going to be useful. I think his intention was that he was going to pull in behind Caitlyn and instantly kick Caitlyn back into the team. But then Lee Sin's dead. He's out of the fight.
Yeah. Team Blue just not team fighting the way that they need to be.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Blue team's play should be counter-engaged, should it not? Because there's no hard engage coming out from Purple team. So Blue team, when they see them try and set up a fight, when they see them try and pick off a target, they should be able to overlap their CC, which they have a lot of, in order to disengage and counter with their own. Is that correct?
It's like Purple team, yeah, they have no way of starting fights. They have to make kind of dangerous, risky plays to kind of get them going. Which puts them into dangerous positions. Like, we see Caitlyn right there. She just got hit by the Anivia stun. They could easily follow up onto this if they can land their CC.
Really good wards coming out from Purple team. Every time I look, they seem to have a lot in place.
Ziggs. He goes right to the backline, uses his Zhonya's. He manages to hit 3 people with the ultimate before going down, but he still does a lot of damage. Ziggs finally joins the fight. Trying to focus him down, but isn't quite able to. Lulu flashing after her, uses the exhaust to slow her down. Barrier, she's trying everything she can to survive, but Lulu takes the kill. And it's another ace in favor of Team Purple.
They could honestly end that if they wanted to. It looks like they're going to instead try and do a Baron and an Inhib, which is fine. We mentioned earlier that Purple team doesn't have an engage. It seems they do. Ziggs just walks into the team and uses his combo and then dies, and that's their engage.
It works. Like, even if he died there, he still managed to hit 3 people for massive damage. He kept them all there for follow-up from the rest of his team.
Yeah, just the time that he's in Hourglass, if they decide to ignore him, okay, well, try that engage again in a minute or two once Hourglass is back up. If they stay on him to try and kill him when he comes out of it, well, that's a grouped enemy team for you to engage onto. That's what I love doing on Victor, that exact same play that Ziggs has been doing over and over again. You essentially jump into the middle of the team, or you make them jump onto you, and you drop your combo, and your team picks up kills while your skills do work. Purple team trying to take away a dragon here. Get that gold advantage pushed even further. They're about 15,000 gold ahead right now. So that's a very dominating lead. Combine that with Baron, and they should just they should have this game in the bag if they decide to end it properly and don't get caught out.
Team Blue, they need to recognize that Team Purple has Baron, and they just kind of have to back off and wait it out because Team Purple can win these team fights. They really shouldn't be trying to force an engage right now because it's going to blow up in their faces, like what I think we're about to see right now with Ziggs coming in.
Yeah, Ziggs and Kha'Zix are both in behind, and the way they're playing, they're essentially both as assassins.
Lee Sin drops, chasing after him. The Annie stun comes down but isn't able to do anything. Anivia also drops. Now they're chasing after Annie, who gets taken really low by the KO ultimate and finally finished up by Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix flashing in, using his jump once again to chase down onto Jinx. She isn't able to deal with him though, and he manages to pick up the triple kill.
Yeah, they did a very good job of coming back into it with their roaming, with the Jinx playing incredibly well, but overall, it's just, there's too much snowball potential from Purple Team, and as soon as they start to catch targets out, that's pretty much game.
Like, the issue was those early team fights where it could have been anyone's game, and they just didn't peel for Jinx, and Jinx wasn't able to carry the rest of her team.
Agreed. Okay, so this is your final chance to enter the giveaway, guys. Let me just move this over to the right screen. We currently have 53 people entered. This is for a $10 RP card. We are drawing the prize in about 5 minutes here as we start the next game. We're just going to go over final item builds, final comments on the team play. Keyword is workshop. You must be following the stream in order to win. In the meantime, we're going to go over final item builds, decision making, etc. Take it away, Stephen.
Oh god, this is the part where I have to try and prove that I kind of know the SR meta. But not really. Okay, so Lee Sin, standard Lee Sin build. I think I would have preferred to see him get a little bit tankier, maybe. Jinx was doing a lot of damage. All he had to really do was peel for Jinx and make sure that he had the cooldowns to make the peeling happen. Jinx, strong build coming out from her. We don't see any armor penetration in her build, which doesn't really matter because Team Purple doesn't look like they have much armor in the first place. It just kind of Kha'Zix who has all the armor, and then everyone else was fairly low. Annie, standard Annie builds. I didn't see her using her Talisman of Ascension as much as she could have been, but had she been using it, it could have also turned fights more in their favor. Cho'Gath looks like a standard Cho'Gath build. I feel like when you have Rod of Ages, like, that's a good item to get on Cho'Gath, but I don't think the Chalice was needed after that point. Rod of Ages gives you mana regen whatever you level, and Cho'Gath also gets a lot of mana whenever he gets CS. So I feel like the Chalice wasn't quite needed for the mana regen, and for the magic resistance options he could have gotten, a Spirit Visage or an Abyssal Scepter would have been better choices for facing Vladimir, not so much the Chalice. And then Glacial Shroud, solid item.
Yeah, I probably would have agreed with you on the Spirit Visage, and then maybe even an Hourglass after that. So
Yeah.
that way you're continuing to build your offensive strength while maintaining incredible defenses.
So that happened, and then Anivia. I have no clue how to build Anivia. I feel like she needed Athene's sooner.
Yeah, you need the cooldown reduction. Rod of Ages is great, but you need to be able to complete it by, I think it's like 13 or 14 minutes, or it's not worth it. I didn't see the time at which she finished hers. And on Anivia, I don't know. Like, I like the Rod of Ages. It's a really good pickup for her. But if you're that far behind, it might almost be worth it to just try and go for the Athenes, try and set up some earlier skill shots, because you're going to have more chances at them, and then just focus on farm. Because even in this 34-minute game, she only has 120 CS. And as a Anivia, you should not really be missing any CS once you're level 6.
Oh well. And then Vladimir, standard Vladimir build from what I can tell. I think Vladimir, he tends to build spell dam at some point. We don't really see any on him, but with Rylays and with the Spirit Visage, his sustain was probably fine, especially up against Cho'Gath. Kha'Zix, what I like here is that he was getting assassinated. Well, he was dying to Jinx. Like, Jinx was able to proc her passive off of him because he was leaping in. He would do a lot of damage, which was good, but then Jinx would clean him up, and then she'd try and pick off the rest of his team. So what he did here was he actually built Ninja Tabi as well as a Chain Vest. And I like that pickup for him to kind of stop Jinx from killing him, and also so that way he could duel her. Because we saw at the last point in the game, Kha'Zix was easily able to overcome Jinx, despite the fact that Jinx was significantly more fed than he was. And then Caitlyn, standard Kate builds. Good job, Kate. Um, Ziggs, I'm not sure about the Rileys. I think I would have picked up Neobian Athenes and Holy Grail on him so that way he could use his poke abilities a lot more often. I saw him going Noom every now and then. I feel like that would have helped him out more.
Yeah, Athenes
Um,
is pretty much core on Ziggs right now.
yeah, like the Hourglass, the early Hourglass rush worked out for him. It helped him out with some of the earlier fights. But I feel like Athenes would have been more beneficial for a kind of larger variety of situations.
Hmm.
And then the Lulu build looks like she's building towards an Hourglass in the end there. I mean, you're ahead, you can get away with that. Um, if I was playing Lulu and I wanted to snowball, though, I think I would have built maybe like a Deathflower Grasp to kind of torment the Jinx.
Okay, my concern with that is that's only going to really be useful if you have Ziggs with you in that fight. And if Ziggs is there, it's already going to one-shot the Jinx. Because Lulu's damage alone with just DFGEQ probably is not going to one-shot Jinx.
But it's very fun, and it's
It,
neat.
it, it
I
is
like
fun,
it.
yeah. I don't know. I'm not denying that. I'm more saying that DFG is a lot of gold to spend when it's not like you have a lot of magic damage on your team. Obviously, they do have a lot of magic damage, but you're not going to have it in lane. You're not going to have it in skirmishes. If Ziggs lands his skill, they're already dead. So what's the DFG for? And Vlad was going more towards tank and harass rather than, again, burst.
Yeah, I think with the Lulu too, the reason why she was building Hourglass was so that way she had the armor for Jinx, because Jinx
Yeah.
really was the only person they had to worry about.
Yeah, and
But
also with Lee Sin always trying to dive for an engage and Anivia possibly landing some stuns, having the hourglass would not be a bad thing.
at the same time, though, I want to have fun and just do wonky shit, so I would have built the Deathfire to Grasp. I don't care.
It's true.
But yeah, so that is my knowledge of the SR meta.